Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Hurry Up. I'm your host, Adam. Let's get into this. So the Giants cut their roster down to 53 players. And there are some surprises, some guys that we didn't think would make it that made it, and some guys that we hoped to make it that didn't make it. So that's what happens with roster building. It's not finished. I call this, the temporary 53. Some people call it the rough draft of the 53 because there's a lot of guys that you got to clear waivers if you're going to do waiver guys and transactions that are still going to probably happen from now until next week. But most likely from now until the next couple days, you're going to start to see some guys coming through waivers and things like that. So some things I want to touch on. The Giants have two quarterbacks, Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor. People who thought Davis Webb was going to make the team, obviously you knew he wasn't going to make the team. Three quarterbacks. I know he played great in the preseason, but he wasn't making the team. And he came over as, with a higher salary. I doubt anyone's going to pick him up. Maybe the Cowboys. Someone mentioned that on a podcast recently that the Cowboys only have one quarterback on the roster, and that's Dak Prescott. That's because they cut Cooper Rush and are hopefully going to sign him, after 4 p.m. today once they get to clear waivers. And because after 4 p.m. today, you get to designate the guys on the short-term IR. So you're going to see a lot of waiver transactions, but they might not be official till 401, 402, something like that, where they can say, hey, Shane Lemieux is going to be on short-term IR or something along those lines. But Davis Webb probably won't be picked up by anybody, so there's a good chance he's going to be back on the practice squad. The other interesting position that of note is they've designated Chris Myarick as a fullback, so he's going to be an H-back, which that's kind of what he played. But Chris Myarick, I mean, come on. I would have, you had Jeremiah Hall on the team, and that drop really hurt him. You got to make the plays when they're there. And, even if the quarterback puts the ball up that high, they're not going to blame the quarterback. Most likely they're going to blame the end recipient, which is Jeremiah Hall. And it looked like that he probably, he may make the practice squad. Who knows? We don't know. Practice squad will be designated, but I hope he comes back. I think Chris Myarick is not the greatest tight end or H-back, but hey, he's going to be there. They have Tanner Hudson and Daniel Bellinger. I think you need to make a move here to upgrade. I think Tanner Hudson, while he is a veteran and is a decent blocker, there are guys out there that might be better for the long term of not only the franchise, but guys that you may want to bring in here as a weapon. Right now, again, Daniel Bellinger is the sole tight end. I don't think you want to go Daniel Bellinger and Tanner Hudson as your tight ends. So they really gutted that position. There are 7 receivers at the moment, which is interesting. Another guy that I don't think they'll keep 7, so we'll see what happens there. But another guy that's interesting to think about is Tommen Foxen. Great for him to make the team. Good for him that he made the squad. Shows a lot out of his character. Unfortunately, it's at the behest of Quincy Roche, who maybe they'll bring back on the practice squad. We'll see. He may have been claimed already, but I was a little disappointed not seeing him. O'Shane Ximines, who I don't know why is on this team, to be honest with you. I mean, he didn't do anything to stand out in the preseason. Don't know. Yes, he put Evan Neal in the spin cycle a couple times at practice, but in the games, he didn't really show up much. He didn't really set the edge that well, and he didn't really get to the passer that much, so maybe they see something that I don't, but we'll see. I didn't really expect him to make the team. Another interesting move is Carter Coughlin making the team. Did not think he did much in the preseason to kind of warrant making the team, but with Darian Beavers getting injured, he makes the team. Austin Garlito was a real interesting signing. The guy's been a journeyman for most of his career. He's the only guy that I thought that I did not think was going to get cut, that I thought was going to get cut that didn't. Outside of Quincy Roche, that's really one of the surprises to me, or Quincy Roche was a surprise as well. And they have 3 safeties, which is another interesting way of looking at it. I know that they might bring Tristan Thompson back or Maters back on the practice squad. But to me, I think there are guys that are cuttable guys that you could bring back, mostly on the defensive side. I mean, Nick Williams, I don't know if you necessarily need him on the team, but we'll see what happens there. I know that they're listing Dexter Lawrence as a D end. He needs to be playing D tackle. nose tackle, nose guard. Do not put him at D end. You're gonna make this guy the worst of the worst if you put him there. But the roster is pretty much set. There are going to be guys cut. Tomon Fox, I like that he made the team, but he's one of those guys that if you're bringing somebody better or you need to cut somebody, he's a guy that's probably going to get first looks. And why do I say that? Because maybe he makes the waiver wire, right? And, if nobody really wants him, then he comes back on your team. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited, looking forward to a guy like David Sills. He earned his roster spot last year. He earned his roster spot this year. Guys like CJ Board, who I mentioned, is not very good. Okay, CJ Board is not worth crying about. And they also brought in Richie James, who this regime went out and seeked and got and brought in here. And he earned his roster spot in camp. CJ Board did not. CJ Board also got injured, which doesn't help. And he put a fumble on the ground. Richie James scored a touchdown, had a couple catches, made something of his opportunities whilst Board did, even though he had a good return in the game against Cincinnati, there was a holding call, negates that play. So does that play happen if there's no holding play on that play? I think you'll see Gary Brightwell made the team. I don't know if he'll be the first return man. I think Richie James is going to be return man 1 for punts and kicks. I think you're going to see Brightwell play the up man on the return team. So he's going to be a lead blocker, so to speak, or he'll get the ball occasionally. But it's going to be fun to see that running back room. I really wanted Deshaun Corbin to make the team. He did not, but let's say he clears waivers. He'll be on the backup squad. And don't be alarmed if you don't see him, if you see him. I mean, if this season goes south, you're going to see a lot of these guys either jettisoned or put to the bench for young guys to get playing time. Hopefully that's not soon. If that does happen, hopefully the Giants are competitive through the first 8 weeks of the year. But if they're not, you will probably see a lot of these young guys get burned. And let's see what happens. I mean, Kadarius Toney didn't play against the Jets. Not promising. Hopefully he'll play against Tennessee because we're going to need him. But a lot of these guys who miss time, you're going to find out come 9/11 if that time is going to be really valuable. That missed time, meaning when you work with people, you got to get to know them. Their tendencies, what they do. The tendencies right now are Kadarius hasn't been a healthy person, not in college and not in the NFL. So it's kind of, these guys tend to get injured. That's why I'm a little worried about Daniel Jones, because he was injured in college, and that has been a bugaboo of his up until this season. I also want to see what Daniel Jones can do when the real bullets are flying. He did have a good preseason. I'm not going to go out over here and get overhyped about preseason, because guess what? He had a great preseason in 2019 and ended up having a decent rookie year. If you look at the numbers, it's really an average season. He only played 12 games because he was, again, injured that season. So we'll see what happens this year. The offensive line I'm still worried about in terms of depth. They got rid of Jamil Douglas, which doesn't make any sense to me. But you kept a guy like Max Garcia. So we'll see what happens if there's any other guys brought in. There are a lot of guys out there that could help this roster. Don't get too enamored with players, right? I know people are like, well, certain guys made the team and certain guys did not make the team, and who's out there to get. Like, I was on a podcast the other day, and so who's out there to get? Like, come on. What do you mean who's out there to get? You have to wait till the cuts happen, because players are gonna be stacked at positions. Like the Jets have tight ends that are decent tight ends that could make a roster that may not make their roster due to numbers games and things like that. So don't ask who's out there. You got to wait. That's an open-ended question to try to challenge somebody to say who's out there, because to be honest with you, anybody that you pick up on the street is not going to be great anyways. But if you got a guy like Eric Ebron as opposed to Daniel Bellinger, come on. Eric Ebron has history. Now, I know he's not been on a roster, which indicates that he's not very good, which that's fine. But why is he not on a roster? Ask yourself that question. Is it because of money? Because he might be holding out for money. No tight ends have been, quote unquote, injured season-ending wise or for a long period of time. We don't know what's going to happen. And then after week 2, your contract is not guaranteed. So that means for whatever reason, let's say the Giants want to go into the season with Bellinger and Hudson as their 2 tight ends. Let's say Hudson gets banged up. You keep Myrick till past week 2. Then week 2 comes and you're preparing for week 3. That's when you can sign a guy like Ebron or anybody of that ilk. So just because guys aren't on rosters doesn't mean there are better players out there. Players are evaluated differently than the way we evaluate them. When they get a designation as an undrafted free agent, that sticks with them through their career. If they get drafted as a 5th round pick, that sticks with them through their career, which means guys are going to say, hey, coaches are going to look at these players. Scouts are going to look at these players and say, what was our grade? What do we have on him? Is he better than what we got, or do we think he can translate better into what we got? If the answer is yes, they'll be brought in. I think fans put a bias on players as if like, hey, I know more than the GMs and the scouting reports because the media says the guy sucks or he's not that good. I trust in the process, but you also got to know. People told me Ricky Seals-Jones was going to be good. I said that guy's a bum. Turns out he's a bum. Jordan Aiken wasn't very good for the Texans, ends up not even making the ball club because they want to go in a different direction. Tanner Hudson, they signed off of waivers as their guy. So the fact that they brought him in and signed him and they have no bodies, he makes the team by just straight attrition because they have nobody there. So if somebody that comes out is better, if you think O.J. Howard is better than Tanner Hudson, then you take the guy. You don't ask questions about, because that guy, Tanner Hudson, is already 27 years old, is not brought in. So look for the Giants to make some more moves. This is not quite finished roster, and probably is not going to be finished all season. They're probably going to be tinkering throughout the year. Giants have to get under the cap. They have only about $5 million in cap space going into the season. They're probably going to want to free up more, so we'll see what happens there. Keep an eye out for Darius Slayton. He could be traded any time from now until the near future. Probably more, if he's going to be traded, probably more towards next week, so we can get in with a camp and start to get acclimated with teammates and things like that. But hey, this has been another edition of the Hurry Up. You can find me tonight on the NFC East Real Deal NFC East Roundup with Mac the Giant Fan. We have a special show tonight. We have the NFC East Roundtable where we're talking to Commander Fan, a content creator, an Eagle content creator, and a Cowboy content creator. So look out for that. Premium takes will be coming at you as well with my 4 horsemen, Jeff the Giant Fan, Zion Jenneth, Mac the Giant Fan, and myself. We go through all things sports. It'll be heavy NFL and heavy roster building going forward. Look forward to that. Game is probably also going to be an NFL game preview, being that we will be going up prior to the games being played next Sunday. So look out for that. But hey, this has been another edition of the Hurry Up. I'm your boy Adam. If you like what you hear, subscribe and get that bell so you can hear anything I go live or anytime I make a video. Have a great day.